Hi, guys. Welcome. I'm sure you don't have any questions regarding anything in particular. No, not. Couple of things that we do want to cover that has been a little bit of confusion has been the NOAA Plus standard and the NOAA dwelling standard. So any questions along those lines are certainly welcome. And anything else that you have on your plate. So with that said, let's just open it up to the questions. You can either put your questions in the chat or you can raise your hand and we can call on you. And so that's it. Somebody get this ball rolling.
I do want to say one thing. When we're asking for submitted plans, we need to make sure that we have plumbing, electrical, everything included in those plans. And hopefully when the inspectors look at it to either approve or not approve, they can catch something before you get too far along or before you even start that will save you a lot of work and headaches. So just remember that when you're sending in your plans that we do need a complete set.
What does that look like, Sherry?
Tiny Easy
Or
isn't going to work.
somebody. Anybody want to answer? What does that look like?
Tony or Rich, do you want to answer? Either one of y'all want to answer that?
Tony? No. All right. So Tony's muted. What a complete set of plans look like would be an ideal set of plans would be a floor plan with labels and dimensions. They don't have to be down to the inch. We're just looking for general dimensions on the unit. A front elevation, a wall section on what the wall is going to look like. So if you're going to have 2x4s at 16 on center, 24 on center, what insulation is going to be in the walls, what you're using for your sheathing or wrap and exterior facade covering. And then the same thing with a roof cutaway with insulation, rafters. If you have a ridge, show that or just indicate it. And a plumbing
Electric
diagram.
and plumbing. Yeah.
Yep. You don't have to get fancy with the plumbing diagram or the electric diagram. We just need, so for the plumbing, let's say, we just need to know the general material that you're using, the sizes, and what it'll expect to look like. We're not asking for it to match exactly. We just want a general idea on, where the drains are going to go, how they're going to be ran and tied together, and where the vent's going to be. And an electrical diagram. That would consist of, we want to know where the panel box is going to be, what size, what you're going to have in your kitchen as far as receptacles, bathroom receptacles, a fan, any smoke detectors, and just general receptacles inside and out, and what amps they'll be.
So, question for you. Any recommendations on a program that will do all of that and is easy to use? I know people use SketchUp, but no, it's not my forte. I've been working with Till at Tiny Easy, but they don't have plumbing yet, and they just now got a materials list. And it's not that great. And their electrical, most all of it's European standard right now. So
yeah, I mean, I don't have any off the top of my head. I don't know if Tony or Frank or Linda have any ideas that would help that.
Yeah, SketchUp is the most common that we get right now, but
it can be hand drawn as well.
That's what I was just going to say. That it doesn't have to be professionally done or anything like that. I mean, we get them on a piece of note paper, where they've just drawn it out with a pencil. The important thing is, like Rich said, that like on the plumbing, when we'll get all we're looking for is a single line drawing, really, that's going to show the layout. But what's important is what we're looking for also is the size of the piping that you're going to use. Same thing with the electrical. We'll get, just a single line drawing is fine. but we do, like Richard said, you know, like to know where the electric panel is going to be located. We want to know, you'll show a bunch of outlets, but if you don't tell us what amperage those outlets are going to be, then that kind of leaves us with still questions. So it would pay to show what outlets, and even if it's like I tell everybody, there's 3 mandatory circuits in the tiny house, 3 mandatory ones. The first one is a 20 amp circuit to the bathroom, and the other 2 are 2 20 amp outlets in the kitchen over the counter. But if you're just showing outlets and you show a wire, but you don't tell us that it's 20 amp or that it's even dedicated, then we have questions and we have to come back to you on it. So, and even with like Richard had mentioned, the vent on your plumbing, they'll show a mark where there's going to be a vent, but you're not telling us where the vent is going to go. So that's the other thing that we need. So it doesn't have to be elaborate. And like I said, some of them, they're just drawn on regular loose leaf paper. But it's more important to have a little bit of details written in. That helps us out a lot.
You said
Yeah,
two 20 amp circuits going to the kitchen. Those are 2 separate dedicated 20 amp circuits.
Right.
How many outlets can be on each of those circuits?
As many as you want. It doesn't matter. The kitchen circuits, they have to serve the kitchen itself. So you can actually you can bring let's just say you brought a 20 amp circuit over to a refrigerator, but then from that refrigerator you went up onto the counter, and that's where you're going to put your GFCI. Well, that will count as 120 amp circuit for that kitchen, because the code says that there must be 2 20 amp small appliance circuits. So what they're really talking about is a circuit that's not going to be feeding like your microwave oven or your cooktop.
On power draw items. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and we're not like, if you have, submit a set of plans and you're missing a couple minor details, we're just gonna, if we can approve it with notes, we're gonna approve it with notes.
Right.
We're not trying to make this a hard process at all. We're just trying to get some basic details so we know what's going on before we get into it too far. So definitely when you get your, paperwork back, do make certain to look at it.
Right, because there'll be comments on there. And like I was just talking about the outlets, just as for instance, if you showed that there's 2 outlets over the counter, but you don't say what they are. So you may get the approval back, but in the comments, it will say that, just as a reminder that the 2 circuits over the counter have to be 20 amp dedicated circuits, or something like that. So like Rich said, it doesn't, we will have notes on there. So it's important that you do look at the notes on it.
I have a set of plans that I could show everybody if you want to see a
We have a
sample.
hand up as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
B, would you
I
like to
know what-
unmute?
I know
Hey,
what-
guys,
if
along
you want
those
the mater-
lines, go ahead, someone's talking.
Go
sorry,
ahead,
I
B.
just asked if you want the material list too. That's it.
So along those lines of plans and things, are there any engineering requirements like connections, structural connections? I'm with Tiny Home Builders LLC, and we're getting our first inspection tomorrow. And I use a company out of, I think it's Arkansas, and I really wasn't happy with their details. Is there anybody that you guys recommend that are in this business that kind of does the structural detailing to wind loaded and, we do tiny homes on wheels, and we're just kind of looking around to see who does the structural end of it better than what I've paid for, I guess.
I can answer that. The challenge that I have is even though you hire a quality draftsman and a quality engineer, a lot of these guys, I don't know where I don't want to badmouth anybody, but I'll just tell you what happened. I'm building a little house and I drew the plans up with the right size of door in the bathroom, which is a 2.8. You have to have a 30-inch clear opening. And the plans that they came back stamped by the engineer had a 24-inch door, which I didn't catch until I submitted it to the building department. They rejected it. So I sent it back to the plans draftsman and they charge me every time we do something, 4-hour minimum. You know, it's not inexpensive what we're doing here. And they come back and resubmit plans with a 2.6 door, not a 2.8, which is not big and doesn't have a clear opening. So unfortunately, you really got to know your stuff. I think this is mine personally. Really got to know your stuff, and then to find an engineer that that knows everything. It's almost like we have to go research it and find out what we're supposed to have, and then come back to them and say, "Hey, this is what we need." But as far as the ANSI 119 or the NOAA Plus standard, as far as I know, those plans do not have to be stamped. I do know that if you are going to be going into Colorado using 2018 IRC, those plans do need to be stamped if you're going to be building modulars in Colorado. Anybody else want to weigh in on that? Am I correct as far as the plans don't have to be stamped that are built to the ANSI Plus? And then the other question is, how about if we build to the NOAA dwelling standards? Do they need to be stamped?
So as far as stamped plans by a design professional, there's no requirements through ANSI or NOAA Plus or the NOAA dwelling standard. But if you do something unique in the unit, like you have a cantilever over one end, we want that part engineered, because the trailer's intended to carry a direct load on it and within its boundaries. And once you put a cantilever on it, you know, you're throwing a weight distribution off, you have wind loads, you have uplift loads that aren't accounted for. So like something like that, we would want, you know, engineering for that specific part of it. And the only other ways that we would ask for engineering, like I said, if there's something unique, like you're using, instead of conventional lumber for your roof trusses, you're going to use engineered roof trusses. So we want to see that cut sheet stamped and signed by, you know, registered design professional, within that state of wherever you purchase it from. Other than that, you know, you would have to have really unique features of your entire build to really warrant an engineer.
Now, for rafters, they are stamped typically. When you order them, they typically come stamped anyways.
So in my experience with that is it's a yes and no, because like we'll get cut sheets and they'll be the generalized cut sheet, but they don't always have the stamp on unless you pay for that stamp. So it's, you know, and I get it, you know, everything's time and money, and but yeah, I've seen a lot of that, at least on my arena. Maybe it's a little different in your area.
So basically, there's a difference between performance standards and prescriptive standards. And performance standards are things like, you know, it has to withstand a wind load of 140 miles an hour or something like that. And so then an engineer will come back and that's why we have on our website, I think we're 120 or 130 mile in our prescriptive. But anyway, it'll say 130 mile per hour. So it'll give you the size of sheathing and the nailing pattern and the how far apart, what size studs and things like that. That's called a prescriptive standard. If you meet those prescriptive standards in your build, then you don't have to have something engineered. But if you're going to do something different, let's just say your building code official says, we need more than 130 mile an hour wind. You're going to go into a 170 mile an hour wind area, or like we had one, what's our snow load that we're requiring? Anybody know?
30 pounds live and 10 pounds dead.
And so we had one situation in Placer County where they had a snow load of 235 pounds per square inch. I've never seen anything like that. And he had to engineer that all the way down to the ground and show the building code official that it would carry that. So we do have, you know, in most areas we're okay with things. It's in places like Idaho where they're asking for some additional things where they want more insulation in the ceiling and the walls than we have in our NOAA Plus or whatever, that they'll take the NOAA Plus standard, but they asked to up the R value to an R28 in the walls, and I've forgotten the floors, and I mean R28 in the ceilings, and forgotten the walls and the floors, but it's a higher R value than we currently have in ours. So we have in our NOAA Plus standard that if your unit is going into Idaho and any of those places in Idaho, then that's what it would be. Now they're coming back to us and asking us about seismic load. And, you know, seismic load, basically when you build a tiny house on wheels, some places are asking for you to give a set of plans for a setup. How far apart do the piers have to be? What's the tie down? And all of that, like a mobile home. So really a set of plans isn't complete in some jurisdictions until you show how that tiny house is going to meet those wind loads and the seismic loads. And so in that case, you may need to have an engineer. So that's a special case. But I'm just saying it does happen in some of the things that we've seen.
I have some questions in the chat.
Okay.
Did you say you're gonna have a yes, gentleman. Eric, any examples of plans that are available for the group?
Well, I can share with you. I mean, some of the plans that people submit are, I don't think we can, they're proprietary plans, and so we can't do that. But this was a set of plans that I had drawn up for a tiny house on wheels on a foundation. It could be on a chassis, but this one is on a foundation. And I had a pier foundation plan drawn. I had a slab detail, and in it they have the floor plan and also the loft floor plan. So all we're requiring right now would be this floor plan. And my question to the inspectors are, would this be sufficient for the electrical and the plumbing, or do they need something more than that?
That depends on what you've got in there. It's hard for me to see.
Yeah.
As again, you show outlets and stuff. I don't know if you show the electrical panel.
Click up there by the 100.
Here.
Robin,
There's
you could enlarge it.
Oh, can I? Let me move this out of the way.
Right in the center of the page. There you go.
Oh yeah.
So there's where the meter and the panel is. It's a mini split.
Yeah, it's missing smoke detectors, and I see the outlets where the stove area is, where the sink area is.
Right.
Yeah, there's no indication of size, amperage, anything like that.
But that would be
But
put
I mean,
so in the notes. I would
again,
have that in there.
Yeah, that would just be a note saying, hey, you know, minimum 20 amp required here.
Here's some elevations.
Mm-hmm.
And
What about
this is a
having
sectional.
a material? What about having a materials list with it? The
I don't
takeoffs?
think we require that.
Yeah, we
I
doesn't.
don't require
in
it,
the
but I think
checklist?
But if I submit that, it's going to have 20 amp, right? Part of the materials list is going to be 20 amp outlets,
It may not.
GFCI.
Yeah, but
There's a good
it's pretty
plumbing layout
generalized with the materials list, and we don't know where it's going. So that's where we'd run into a hiccup. We'd still put that note
Well,
back to it.
I'm asking because I'm working with Till at Tiny Easy to get this sorted out, and they have it broken down into sections: kitchen, bathroom, living room, loft. So it's not, it's not your typical, you know, straight up materials list, right? Wood, electrical, plumbing, right? It's, it's going to be based on each section. Now, it may be that it's broken out as well, but I'm getting an opportunity to influence that. So that's why I'm asking some of these questions to maybe hopefully get us, get that to be a better program for tiny home
Yeah, I'll tell you
builders.
what, one thing that's really helpful to us, and we get very few of them, is a window schedule.
Yeah.
The window schedule is helpful for us too. And I looked at the plumbing diagram, that drawing that Robin had that he skimmed by, and that's really all we really need. If Robin goes back to that plumbing diagram that he
All
had.
right. I wanted to show the windows here are 3050 single hung. That kind of gives you a 2030
Yeah,
single hung.
good.
That's
Right.
all. That's what you would need on that. And then what Tony's talking about is this riser diagram here for the
Yeah, and
plumbing that
that's
shows the sizes of everything.
and that's really, if you look at that, that's really telling us what just about everything we need.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yep. The concern that I would have with breakout sheets or material list is it may be long. And there may be a bunch of items on there that just don't pertain to us at all. Like I don't know how detailed they're going to get, if they're coming down into, primer and paint and brand and color and all that other stuff. Cause I've seen those and that's a builder's list. That's not for plan review.
Yeah.
That would be
I
my
did get
only
one.
concern with something like that.
I
I
did get
don't
one
think
that
you
was
would need
27.
that because
No.
here on this cut sheet, it shows 7/16 thermoply red, hardy board siding. You have to read upside down to see it. It has the R13 fiber insulation. You can pretty much show all the materials that you're going to be
Right.
needing on this 2x6 by 16 inches on center or 24 inches on center. Whatever this is here, the roofing, the underlayment, everything can be put on here. Your floor joists and your plywood. So I think if you did something like this cutaway, this cross section, and just this one floor plan right here, and maybe a loft floor plan so you can see the outlets in there. And then what did you say? An elevation for just one elevation is all you're looking for?
Yeah. I mean, one elevation is better than none. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And then do a riser diagram like this. And this is just simple, you can
Very
hand draw
simplistic.
this really easily, just so they
Yeah.
know that the sink's going to have 1.5 inches and that the water closet's a 3-inch that flows out this way, and a 2-inch for the shower, 1.5 inch vent through the roof. That's really all that you guys are looking for, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you don't want to get it too complicated and then you won't get your plans back on time.
Yeah, Star, yes, you can forward that to your partner. It's faster than typing it. And then we have a question about HUD. Hold on, HUD inspectors. I think I know the answer.
I'm going to email this set of plans to Leanne, and you can share it with the people that are on the call. Are you guys interested in that set of plans? That'd be helpful. Not, I won't. Oh yeah, somebody says yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Robin,
Yeah,
if you can send those to me, that I can use those with Tiny Easy too, to kind of give an idea of what Noah's looking for, because that's part of our conversation is what's required by you guys, so they can make sure it's in the design program.
Robin.
Yep.
Go ahead and send them to me. I'll make sure whoever wants them will get them.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my email in the chat for y'all if you don't have it already. But the question is, can NOAA be used as a third-party inspection entity for HUD compliance in a state where there are no HUD inspectors?
No,
No.
I can answer that. No. We don't do HUD. We don't do manufactured housing. It's not in our wheelhouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Star. Star is doing a cargo trailer conversion, and I just found out that the trailer is going to be built with a drop axle. I did not ask for a drop axle, and I'm worried that it may be too low for a 24-foot long trailer. Does anyone know what is a minimum ground clearance that I should be asking for? I'm considering canceling this order if it will be too low for long travels.
I have seen, is it a dual axle? Is it a dual axle or just
I'm sure
single?
it is.
Yes, it's
I would, well,
200-pound axles,
two what size?
2,200-pound axles.
5,200 pounds. Okay. Yeah, I have a 20-footer with a two 5,200 pound axles on it. And that 20-foot house ended up being right around 9,000 pounds. So a 24 would be pushing it right at, 10,200 pounds. We have on our, we used to have, I don't know if we still do, but in our back office, we have some rule of thumbs of what size and weight a 20-footer or a 24-footer would be. So it really depends on your build. If you're using heavier stuff like hardy panel or plywood, that kind of stuff. If you're using lighter material, maybe not. If you're using wood studs as opposed to metal studs are a little bit lighter. So a lot depends on that, on what you're going to be building. But the 5,200 pound axles might be an issue. I don't think the drop axle is going to be an issue because I see 24 footers with drop axles.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Jacob did say that they use drop axle as standard for their builds. So,
One of the biggest things to think about for a drop axle is going to be your height of your fender inside the home too. But if they're going to be pulling that thing a lot around to a lot of different places, then drop axle is probably not the way to go because you're going to get to some spots where that low clearance, that might be dragging the tail of the trailer. For example, your tow vehicle goes up and over a bank and then back down, that back of that trailer, it's going to want to drag on the back side of that dip when you go through it. That's pretty standard of any trailer DOT wise. So it depends on the use. I mean, if someone wants a trailer that they're going to pull to one location and they're going to leave it there for indefinitely, they just don't know if they're ever going to move it, I would certainly consider drop axles, but especially if you want the extra height in the loft, but otherwise there's really no need for it.
And I didn't want the drop axle, and I just found out accidentally when I asked them to send me a spec sheet that it said drop axle on there, and I called them and I asked them about it, and they said, "Well, that's standard how they come." But
Who's good?
Go ahead.
Sorry, who's the company?
The manufacturer is Ideal Cargo out of Quebec, Canada, and the dealership is the trailer company out of Ontario. And now they say that it's too late to change to a straight axle, but I don't know now if I should cancel it because I'm planning to bring it from Canada, from Ontario, all the way down to Texas and back. So it's a long route. I don't plan to go off-roading, but it's unknown territory and it's probably going to be hilly here and there. And I just don't want to wreck my new baby.
Well, you're talking about most all that's going to be highway driving anyways. And highways don't typically have those problems. They're generally made pretty straight. You're not going to have a good dip is what I'm trying to say, right? Like you will on some back roads. Where,
But what about even like going into a parking lot with a, what do you call it, speed bumps or
Sure.
cattle or something?
I mean, you're still gonna have some decent clearance. I'm pretty sure it's around 20 inches.
They
Yeah,
said
there's
it's like
vehicles that aren't even
13 or
that high.
14 inches.
That's still
Yeah,
not
usually,
bad.
usually a drop axle is 22 inches to the deck, and then they have a 6-inch I-beam. So that's going to take 6 inches off of the 22 inches. And you might have a little bit of, bounce and play and stuff like that. So you're going to be down at, 18 inches or so, I would think.
Of course, once you get the
Um,
weight on there, she's gonna go down even more.
Well, yeah,
I can't just
the
change
weight,
out the axle.
the weight will bring the house down to the, to the wheels. And yeah, you might get a couple of inches true with that weight, right, Tony? So I don't know. It's really up to you, Star. Obviously, if you didn't ask for that, but I see a lot of drop axles that are done. It does add probably 3 or 4 inches into your loft. If you don't have room in your loft, that's a way to go. But if you are really concerned about it, it's going to have to be your call. What you want to do.
Star, if you want to read in the chat, Jacob is one of our builders in Georgia. He's got some comments. There is a way to save the chat. Can you see it? Thanks, Jacob. And yeah. Okay. We got
And
some
we've
more
had tiny house,
questions.
we had tiny house basics on here on some of our tiny talks, and he might be a trailers. Star, if could you
Yeah.
give Star that
Andy's
information?
very responsive.
Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it's tiny house. I can email it to you.
Thank you. Thanks. Should I
Sure,
put my
sure, sure.
email?
I have your email, hun.
Okay.
So we have a question from Tyler and Morgan. If you want to unmute yourself and ask your question. Hello.
Hi, yeah, this is Tyler. I'm actually just a DIYer that got in here somehow. I'm going to order. I'm going to order a 10 by 36 from Volstruct soon, and I've actually already started the order. I live in Placer County. Somebody mentioned Placer County earlier, but I mostly had questions on electrical. Can we wire these things with 240? Can I have electric heated flooring?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, no problem. And then can I have gas cooking?
You can
Propane.
propane? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, that clears up some things. And then where would I go to find, probably my local jurisdiction, I'm sure, but find the snow load requirements? I don't like it barely snows where I'm at in Placer County, but that comment earlier made me nervous.
Well, are you planning on putting it in an RV park, or you have property you want to put it on, or?
Yeah, I have property that I'm going to put it on, but I do plan on going through the whole inspection process, and then we plan on what I found so far through Placer County is that as long as we pull a permit for the electrical circuit that serves the trailer, it's fine.
Well, we inspect to 30.
Right.
Okay.
And I think
Yeah.
that's equivalent.
Yeah.
Isn't it
Yeah.
equivalent to 1.5 feet of wet snow or snow? The R30, I think it's 1.5 feet. So I don't.
I'm not used to that snow. We'd have to ask our Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so County of Placer, hold on a minute here.
I want to say we're in like 40 to 60 up here in New Hampshire. Depending on what part of the state you're in.
Snow load.
And there are tables that you can look at for designing a higher snow load. I'm trying to remember what those tables are called. Rafter span tables, is that what they're called? Rafter span tables? And you can find out, let me see if I can find those real quick.
And does anybody deal with Volstruck already, or is anybody
Yeah,
familiar?
We have a
We know
lot
that
of
pretty well.
trailers that come from Volstruck.
Yeah,
Okay,
fun.
and is it good?
They're good trailers.
Yeah.
They're one of the bigger trailer manufacturers.
Mhm.
Ah.
Yep, mhm. Yeah, as far as a snow load, you might want to contact just to be on the safe side. Contact the local building department and just ask them. They'll have that information right off the top of their head. I mean, maybe not one of the secretaries or personnel like that, but any of the building inspectors or building officials over there, they'll be able to answer that.
Okay, and is not a specific building inspectors that handle on wheels. I should have mentioned that earlier. It's going to be on wheels and it's going to stay on
Yeah,
wheels.
no, yeah. So I mean, but if you're looking to build it to their snow load, then they would have that information right at their fingertips.
Okay, I guess my question would be, if it's on wheels, do I have to build it to their recommendation?
I don't think is there any state or local requirements?
I
Anybody?
would say I would say, yeah, you would want to meet those
Yeah.
because I know the other guy was on wheels, but they still wanted the snow load requirements. So
Got it.
I would say err on the side of caution there and say, yeah,
Especially if you're planning on putting it either locating it somewhere where it's either going to be permanent or at least semi-permanent, you would probably be better off trying to meet their standards.
Yeah, we don't know how long it's going to be but we're building it to be able to move at some point. So I guess semi-permanent.
Yeah.
But I'll thank you all.
Now, if you're in an RV park or something, that wouldn't matter. But if you're putting it on your own property, that's when the local jurisdictions come into play.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even just storing it on your property in the interim, until you can find a place, it just makes more sense to build it once and build it right.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll shoot for that for sure. I'll reach out to them. There's like 3 inspectors in my county, so it's kind of hard to get a hold
Yeah.
But so I think maybe I didn't hear the answers to the other questions as far as like electricity. There's no issue with 240 volts. Is there a maximum amperage that I can put to the trailer or?
Nope.
Okay.
No. And especially if you're having the power company bring power over to you,
Mhm.
they're probably going to bring the 240 over to you anyway.
Okay, well, so we're gonna do an owner builder permit and run our own. I'm an electrician, so we're gonna run our own power over there. All they require in Placer County, all that I've found that they require so far is just that we actually pull a permit for the.
Yeah, so if you're going to do that, I mean, you can pull over whatever size service you want, really.
Mhm.
And as
how
long
many
as
amps?
where are you going to come from, though? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, wherever you're going to be coming from, if as long as that can support whatever you're going to put in.
Right. Yeah, and that's stuff that we'll take care of as we get closer. I don't think I need any more than maybe 50 amps at the absolute most, but I was just kind of curious if I went electric water heater or something like that, I would maybe need more.
Right. Yeah, especially if you're
Yeah.
going to bring in 240. Normally 50 amps is more than enough for you.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing an on-demand hot water heater or something. And we've
Okay.
seen, what, 200 amp panels on these things before?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Yep.
you can get 120 volt on-demand water heaters, but yeah. That's kind of what I was doing with this one that I'm building is I wanted to go all electric and in order to get the capacity I wanted, I was going to have to do 240 and it required a 60 amp breaker. 64. So it would have been more than that.
Yeah, that's a good size, that water heater too.
I kind of keep
I'm-
running that at the stuff. I think I'm gonna go gas or propane with the water heater, but my mini split, I'm gonna have a 2-zone, and they only make 2-zone in 240 volt.
But they're not very many amps. Those mini splits aren't very many amps.
No,
No,
very low.
Yeah.
and you can get mini splits that do 120.
Right,
You don't
but
have to
there's
do 40.
they're a 1-to-1. So you with the 120 ones, I have a couple now. It's one condenser, one head, and they don't make any 2-zone ones right now.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
But okay, I appreciate all the info.
Star has one more question about axles. Are there any thoughts on a suspension lift added to the drop axle?
No. Just cancel the order and get the right trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well, you can call Tiny House Basics. They're I mean, they're pretty good at getting trailers out pretty quick.
And they're very informative. I mean, I
Yes.
would consult with him before you do anything, Star.
And not only that, but Tiny House Basics, most of their trailers are designed for tows, tiny house on wheels. So it's already designed for that. They've taken a lot of the engineering into consideration when they make the trailer.
I consider him one of the big three: Iron Eagle, Trailer Made, and
Trailer Made,
Tiny
right.
House Basic. Yeah,
Yeah,
would be.
yeah, they're the common ones that we see.
Just,
Yeah.
I started out with a tiny house being ordered by somebody here in Ontario and took my deposit and he never made me the tiny house. So I'm kind of doing a budget version of the project now, which has led me down this rabbit hole of cargo trailer conversions. So, and I called it a few tiny house builders here in Ontario to do a little exploration. And some of them have said that because I'm also trying to build in a low or non-toxic and a low EMF way, that they would actually charge me more for them to have to go and learn about doing things in a different way. So that has led me to, in a different way, try to bridge the worlds of learning as much as I can about low EMF, non-toxic, working together with a building biologist, and then doing a lot of the work as a DIY project with my partner Brad, who just joined us, I think.
Who's the girl in?
And with a
in
brain
Oregon?
injury, and I'm trying to put it all together on a budget is a lot.
Star, I'm really sorry to hear that
Yeah.
you lost a deposit. Unfortunately, I've heard of other people, and that's one of the reasons why some of the jurisdictions like Colorado are coming in and stepping in. Who is the girl in Portland, Oregon that does at the show? She does Nature's Head
yeah.
displays. Isabel, is it Isabel? No, what's her name?
Isabel,
Rice.
Can you
Isabel
give her
Naples
Isabel's-
Rice or something like that.
Yeah, can you give her Isabel's contact information to Leanne, because
Yeah.
she is an expert in what the area that Star is trying to build in, and she may have some recommendations, may even have some builder recommendations. So, yeah, she built her own home too with her dad.
So
yeah.
someone mentioned, someone mentioned a few moments ago the big three as far as trailers, and Trailer Made and Tiny House Basics, and what was the other one?
Iron Eagle.
Already.
Iron
Eagle.
Eagle. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
I will tell you, there are a lot of builders out there, and you know, I want to say, is it Joshua? Is that his name? Tiny House Basics. I want to say
Yeah.
they use um, a welding company, but they had their trailers designed. So I don't think like TrailerMade and Iron Eagle build their own trailers. They design them and build them in-house. They have welders in a shop, but I got the impression anyways, because one of the trailers I was going to order, and probably I'm still going to order, is going to come out of Pennsylvania, and they're out of California. So I suspect, knowing what I know about the industry a bit, is that they're actually using weld shops to build these to their specs, so they can get them built closer to the builders. I imagine we're going to see a few more companies like that doing it as well.
I actually
Yeah.
just got a quote from Tiny House Basics for the trailer that we ended up ordering from Volstruct, but he mentioned that they had two trailer manufacturers. There's one in California, and then there's one in Texas, and it kind of came with two different prices. He didn't say that they had the manufacturer from somebody else, but he said we can build it in California, or we can build it in Texas.
Yeah.
If that helps any.
That makes sense. The other thing before we go, if we've got a couple of minutes, we had, you know, we're third-party inspection company. We have some standards or some other standards that are coming out with ASTM and ICC. And one of the things that we see a lot is because we have a brand name, NOAA's a brand name, we've become nationally known and all that, there's some misconceptions that are out there that we also inspect for quality. And I just want to let everybody know that we inspect to the standards and the codes, but we do not inspect to quality. So it's up to the buyer to vet their builder to make sure that they have a quality product. It's kind of like when you're building houses, you have good builders and not so good builders, but they all pass inspections and they all get COs because they're built to the code. But just be careful when those of you that are out there are hiring manufacturers, that you vet them very carefully. I would recommend that you do not give them deposits. If you do give them deposits, then I would put it up in escrow with an escrow company, and you would give them draws based on, you know, when they get the trailer, they get some money, and when they get to the framing, they get some money, kind of a draw schedule. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents for what I've seen in the industry.
Very sound advice, Robin. I like that.
Yeah, thanks, Robin.
And I also wanted to add to that, as we were talking about plans, if you are a manufacturer and you change models, then you would need to submit another set of plans for that particular model. And it would help us to know if when you're booking your inspection, if you could just put that model name in there so that we know we already have reviewed your plans and there won't be any surprises for you guys or for us. I know it's a new thing that we're going with. I think it's really working out well, but it is a new thing. So we're all trying to work it all out to benefit both of us. So just remember to put, if you've already submitted your plans and you've already been approved, if you change models, then just please resubmit plans for that particular model. Even if it doesn't change that much, then you still want to resubmit them. So that when your buyer 10 years down the road calls and says, hey, my house was built by such and such, and it was NOAA inspected. Can I get those inspections? Then we're gonna call you and say, hey, can we send these building inspection for so-and-so? And once you tell us yes, then they have all that, and it'll have your model included on those plans as well. So just make sure you do send those in. Does anybody else have any questions?
I think Joseph has.
Joseph has a question. How long does a DIY builder have to finish the build after buying the certification? I know some builds can take DIYers a few years. That is why our DIY membership is good through the life of your build. There is no limit. There is no 1 year. However long it takes you is however long it takes you.
I finalized one about a month ago that was started in 2018.
Yeah.
So
You got one
It does
tomorrow.
have to be
My
paid in
first one
full before the year's up, but yes, you
Mhm.
can take as long as you want to build.
My first one was built like that. If you guys remember that, took me about 3 years.
But you
I
know,
don't
it's
remember.
nothing that
But we
unusual.
love our DIYers.
Oh yeah, we see a lot of it though.
Yes.
It's not really unusual.
Yes.
And not all of us have unlimited amount of money. So sometimes it's just simply, you know, as our budget allows, we move along.
Or if you live up in snow country, you may not be able to work on it through the winter.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
Right.
Right.
Or if you have a full-time
number-
job.
I was gonna say, we
Wait,
deal with a
there's-
number of schools also. And so the schools, because you know, schools aren't in year round. So during school time, you know, they'll build so much and then we won't even get back to that until the following year when school's back in session again. So yeah, it's not unusual at all.
I heard someone say I could take a break when it's snowing. Is that true?
You and me, Doug, you and me.
Hey, I
I'll
got one
just
quick
send you a
question.
picture of beautiful sunshine and tell you how warm it is, and all of it'll go away.
Nice.
That's what happens with Rich.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
I do have a question about stairs. And I'm trying to remember, the bottom step and the top step don't have to be the same rise and run, if I recall correctly, but the rest of them have to be within 3/4 of an inch of each other.
3/8 of an inch.
3/8, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, the top and the
Rise
set of
doesn't
stairs,
have
you
to
can
be
have
wide.
what's called a landing.
Yeah,
And
Right.
that landing can be, I believe the numbers are 16 to 24 inches. I'm not sure. From the top of the landing to the loft can be bigger than your rise on your stairs.
Oh yeah, we're up
Right.
to 18.
But what about the step right before the landing, the last step there? Typically, that can be a little different, if I recall correctly from the code.
No, I think all the rest of them have
No.
to be the same.
No,
no, yeah, they all have to be uniform
yeah,
unless it's a landing, they all have to be uniform.
right. Now from the landing up, then that rise can change. But as far as the
Right.
steps go, they all have to be within 3/8 of an inch.
Okay. Well,
Well,
that's
guys,
interesting. It's like the calculators, you do a stair calculators for regular houses, and the bottom and the top rise are never, I haven't ever seen them be exactly the same. They're usually off by a good bit. Because your rise and your run, it's never gonna be an even 8x8x8x8 or whatever, or 7x9 or, you know, whatever, right? It's not gonna be consistent. So even when you do the stair calculators online, that top step and the bottom step typically have a different rise than the rest of the steps.
what I
Right.
usually do, Doug, is I take the height from the floor, finished floor to finished floor, and I divide that by the number of steps that I have, and that will give me my rise. And it should all be pretty consistent.
Should all
I
be
don't
the same.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because you don't
Yeah.
have to have 7.5-inch rise. You can make it 7 3/4, or you can make it
Right.
7 5/8. You can make that, but I think what they're saying that whatever it is, it needs to be the same.
All right. Well, I thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope we answered some of your questions and you got a little bit of knowledge from us. And as always, thank you for joining us. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to give us an email, phone call. We're always willing to help wherever we can.
You know where we are.
Thank you.
You got
Bye,
our number.
guys.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see y'all
Bye.
next month. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.